Um, let me, I'm ready now. You guys don't look ready. So I want to talk about the references and stuff like that, but first I want to take an opportunity to kind of go around the room and give each of you about, I don't know, 5 minutes to bring up one of your more recent Tiddlywikis that you've written and walk us through some of the stuff that you've done and show us things that you've made and how they work. So why don't you take 5 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever, bring up a recent one on your screen that you've got, that you're ready to sort of share and walk us through. And the reason I want to do this is I want you to read your wiki, read your interactive text for us and show us what you imagine people doing and then kind of explain your logic behind there. Because at this point you've gotten to create some fake, sort of sophisticated things. So if anybody did any work on the references, that would be new. If you did something with the Wikipedia, we haven't looked at that. That would be new. I think we've beaten the Google News to death, unless you've done something since we last talked in Google News. That's interesting. But that would be fine too, just to kind of show us what you've done. And keep in mind, we're looking for link up. Who's got it? 3T2L. Is that right? 3T2L. What were those? 3T2L. Tagging, templating, transcluding, linking, and listing. So we're kind of looking to see the extent to which you've engaged in those behaviors as writers, and then show us how you expect your readers to do it. So bring up something on your screen that you're ready to share. And then we'll just go around the horn. And since Andrew's in the meeting, he'll be first. Okay. And you can get to the Design Right Zoom room by clicking on Zoom and joining us there. Yep, so Ben just showed up. So take a minute or two, bring up something on your screen, and you don't have to join the room until it's kind of your turn. You're welcome to do it if you'd like, because then you can see other people's. It's kind of easier to see it on your screen than that screen, but that's up to you. And I'm kind of curious to see if we can, if we crash it, if everybody in the class joins it on the same wireless router, which is up in the system.
Can they keep their video turned off so you don't crash it?
What's that, James?
Can they keep their video off so you don't crash it?
Yeah, keep your videos off. Yeah. What if you don't have something? You've made lots of things. I don't care if it's about me. That's fine. I'm primarily interested in having you walk through or navigate through your wiki and explain what it is you've built and what you're doing. I want to hear you talk about that. I ask you to write about that too, but I want to hear you talk about that because I just want to hear the language. I want you to practice using that language. And we just want to go around and make sure everybody's got a chance. So if you can't do it from there, why don't you get a real computer?
Downloading the Zoom app right now.
Pardon?
Downloading the Zoom app.
Yeah. Yeah, if you need to download the Zoom app, that's fine. Go ahead and do that. So once you've got everybody's, let me know. It's 10:08. I should have told you this like when you came in, but I'm still trying to track something down. And then when you show me yours, I'll show you mine. The stuff I was working on yesterday. That was very similar to the references work that you're doing. So you'll get to see, yeah. So turn off your video because that sucks down the bandwidth. So that would be Derek. Turn off your video. I don't know. Click stop video, lower left. Yeah. And if you want to, like, if you want to share a computer with somebody else, that's fine. Like Kyle and Derek, you guys are sitting next to each other. If you want to just look at one big screen, that's fine. That's up to you. But yeah. You got one ready? Marcus? Oh, it's what? Loading the Zoom app? Uh-oh. Turn on one behind you just in case you need to back up for some reason if it's ill.
What's the meeting?
Go to the design right, go to the space and search for Zoom. And there's a link there that says Zoom Room. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, sign in, but just go back to the thing and click on the link, and then it will sign you in, and you'll be signed in. Yeah.
Don't have to know the meeting's serial number when you, that's all that you put in.
You go to the design right site and click search for Zoom Room, and there's a link there that says Zoom, which is a good way to get there. And so I'm going to stop my share, and we'll let Andrew bring his up because he's. Are you ready? Yeah. So Ben, Chris, Drew, Mickey, Ryan the Czar Mahar. Okay. Smith D23, Christopher, Ben, Brandon's in. Jillian, you're coming. No, you're in. Chris, Steve. That's me. I'm in there 3 times. Okay. Yeah. Okay, is everybody ready to go? Pretty much you can see Andrew's screen now. This is kind of, I think this is in some ways a more interesting way for you to see what's going on than the big screen, but it takes us a little while to get here. So why don't you show us what you're doing? Oh, that's pretty cool. So make that full screen, make your wiki the full screen. Okay. Jillian, you can stop your video to the lower right. Oh no, that's not you. Meg, that would be you. Sorry, it's like I'm looking right at you, but it's a teeny little screen. Yeah, okay. You can zoom in on when you're on a big yeah, there you go. Okay, so yeah, you're going to show us your table of contents.
So I tried to just do exactly what the Wikipedia page did. But I only did like the top portion.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I guess I just copied like.
You know what? Open your audio. Did you join the audio?
No.
Yeah, so go ahead and join the audio because I bet you James can't hear you.
Steve, I don't think anybody joined the audio because no one has microphones by them.
Yep, that's fine. We don't really want them to.
Okay.
Join the audio.
Yeah. But I just want you to be able to hear Andrew as he's presenting. So everybody else should be out of the audio, and we'll see if that works. And I'm going to turn my speaker off. And then you want to turn your speakers off as well, Andrew? There's a
Mute.
right here. There. Yeah. And James, we're going to do this on the fly. Let me know if you're getting the audio because he's the only one who's not here. We get issues of recording audio. So I'm going to, yeah. Are you getting feedback, James? Oh, I can't hear.
Oh,
James,
I had mine on mute. No, I don't have any feedback yet.
Okay, so go ahead, Andrew.
Okay. So for the table of contents, I just tried to copy what Wikipedia did. So as you can see on the left-hand side, it's got all my tabs that I can just click on and it'll pop up. So the only thing I wanted to try and work on is to actually get it in the correct order that it should be in instead of alphabetical, but I don't know how to do that yet.
In the order that you wanted in the order that Wikipedia had.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I don't know how I should try and go about it.
Okay. Has anyone else built a table of contents that looks like this? With the vertical bar?
Not to this extent.
Right, but you've got it. Okay. So you so if you have just expose your code for table of contents. And so it's yeah, you pulled that from
Yep.
tiddlywiki.com,
And I just changed
which
the
is perfect.
tag
I
name.
mean, that's the idea, right?
Yeah.
And so let's take a quick look at Andrew's code here. So he's using something that you can use elsewhere, that macro call. And instead of just using the double angle brackets, TOC, he's using the macro call, and the macro is named toc-tabbed-internal-nav. Okay. I kind of like macro calls. If you look at my code, you'll see I use that a lot because it gives you very clear, you know exactly what each of those parameters are. So $name is the name of the macro, and then tag selected tiddler on selected text. Okay, so that's pretty cool. And you even filled in the missing text and the unselected text, or that might have come with it. That's fine. So you want them.
I want them in the order of how Wikipedia does it, but I didn't know how to do it. Anything I tried, it broke it.
Yeah. Okay. So we got an ordering issue. We'll have to figure that out. Yeah. Yeah. There.
I figured out
You figure out how to do it?
if you make a field and just, like I said, like para and one, two different paragraphs, and then you say order it by paragraph.
Where do you put the order? Is that a parameter?
Yeah.
So
Actually, it's done on the other one. When you order, but you say order arranged by field.
So you create a field for each paragraph.
For each one in their own tiddly, like.
So each tiddler that's tagged Star Wars-wiki
Okay.
gets a field called, I use
title and what
slide
it is.
order, number, something, and then you number them there.
Okay.
And then I think one of the parameters for the macro is order, and then you put the field name and order by that field name. So
All right.
default's ordering by the title, so you just have to change the field.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that would work. Yep, cool. And it just, yeah, so click on one of those. Yeah, okay. Now, as a reader, the navigation is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about if you want to edit this? How do you edit this? How do you edit one of those tiddlers?
Well, you could go to the Star Wars Wiki tab. Go here, and then you can go to any one of these.
Okay. So you have to navigate it, right? You can't edit directly from that table of contents tiddler. You can't get to the tiddlers from there. Okay. Which is good and bad. What's good about that?
Means the reader can't change anything.
Yeah, you restrict and restrain the reader.
Mm-hmm.
What's bad about that? Pain in the ass as a writer. You know, so, okay. Yeah, that's cool. Thanks. And I'm glad that you're able to figure out how to get the code from tiddlywiki.com. That's like a...
Yeah. It's funny, though. I just looked at the Wikipedia page.
Yeah. Show it to us.
And if
Yeah.
I pull that up, it's different already than what it was when I did it. So already this trilogy this trilogy name is different than what it was. It was originally called just Future Trilogy, but now it's already got a name different within the few days that.
So what would be kind of cool to do, and I'm glad you mentioned that, as you begin to think about projects that you're going to do after spring break, which is coming up sooner than you think. One of them would be how could you write a skin, in effect, for TiddlyWiki that would go out and dynamically fetch a Wikipedia article, ingest it, and present it. So it would get it live. So right now you've committed the code, but you could write something that you go out, fetch a page, bring it in, and that way whenever it changes, you just refresh it and it would change. That's something that you could think about doing. There's probably, basically what you would do is the Wikipedia page of the moment would be the fixed static text. And then you would have a filter on top of it that would layer on top of it. You would go fetch it, mash it, and present it on the fly. That would be kind of a cool thing to do. if that's where your interests lie in that kind of integration, what we're doing is we're beginning to play with what static is and what dynamic is, and what's fixed and what's fluid. So yeah, but thanks for pointing that out. That's and there's no way to keep up, but we're mostly about structure on this exercise. So thanks. Yeah. Thank you. Let's go around. Did you get it to work? You're working. We'll come back to you.
I was able to get it to work, but because it's not charging anymore.
Pardon?
I was charging my
Okay.
tablets to make sure I had enough power.
Yeah. So can you share your screen? Should be a big green button. I would be curious. I've not seen a tablet successfully join that I've known of. Yeah. There's share screen button on the bottom. Michael's been having all sorts of challenges, issues.
Well, this one, it's formatted completely different. It's on the top.
Pardon?
This one's on the top.
Okay, whatever, yeah.
Nope, that's not sharing.
Doesn't share?
Share screen. I gotta get the best we move on because I need to get like a tablet to authorize this kind of action.
Okay. Yeah, why don't you use one of the lab computers, because at least we know they work. Yeah. Go ahead, Jillian, you can share. Yeah, so Andrew, if you want to drop the audio, mute your audio, and then Jillian, you can join. And James, you're getting both voices clearly enough?
Yes.
Oh, I have my sound down. James, you getting both voices?
Yep.
Okay. Go ahead, Jillian. Yeah.
Okay.
This looks familiar.
Yeah.
Has the microphone on?
So I went and found some articles on hypertext and annotation, and then I wanted to make table of contents based off of all the tiddlers that I made, and these two are tags down here at the bottom.
Okay.
The one problem I'm having is, you see, like if I click on this, it also does this on the second one. And I wanted it to be separate, like this one only hypertext, and then this one only annotation. So I don't know if that's a code problem. Or...
So let's look at the code for your top annotation.
Sorry.
Okay, and let's
It's
look.
just,
Yep,
I
and
took
let's look
it
at the
from-
code for the other one.
So it's the same. I just changed because I had them.
Yeah.
But when I click on them, they open up each other's things.
Close those tiddlers again. Don't close them. I mean, just
Yeah.
and show me what's happening.
Which is weird.
So you
'cause
click on annotation in the top tiddler, and
And
it
it shows
opens
on the bottom one.
in the bottom one, even though it's not tagged hypertext.
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't know how.
Cool. I mean, if you wanted to do that, you couldn't figure it out. Got ideas, Chris?
This happens in mine because when I set mine up, my table of contents is more like a template for all table of contents. So if I have the table of contents like template open, and I click something on the thing, it like doubles it there. So I'm pretty sure it's just transcoding the template into the thing. So it's using the same template. There's no way to tell the table of contents. So I won't do that.
Are you asking, or you're saying there is?
There is.
So open your audio, because we're not probably getting what you were just saying on this video for those who are not here. And what's the other way of doing it? Yeah. I think what Jillian's dealing with is a problem called state. And so can you divide your screen in half and go to tiddlywiki.com?
Yeah.
So we'll keep yours on, yeah. And in another tab, go to tiddlywiki.com. And search for talk. And go to the table of contents. Yeah, just any one of them will be fine. And no, we need the macro, the table of contents macro.
So just keep clicking till we find one.
Maybe just search your table of contents. If you just talk, just go and retype your search for table of contents.
Okay, you want me to type it again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, search for table of contents.
It is up there. I don't know if it's not on your. Did we successfully crash it?
Did everybody get clear? Just me. Okay. So yeah, so table of contents macros.
Right here?
Yeah. And scroll down and see if there's a parameter called
Mm,
sort selected on the left. Yeah, I don't know what the other is. So if you added a parameter called selected people, then you can go ahead and do that on your side.
Where are we? There we go. Where about? Oh, we've got the selected. Yeah.
Steve, I can't hear it. I'm going to go sit next to Joey. That's what I'll do. I'll just walk around and sit next to people. Since mine died. So change that to, annotation and put a quote in. Yeah, and save that. And I bet you now they don't, And
Oh,
go down.
let's see.
Am I wrong? Oh, yes. Now they're independent. Okay, so what is state?
Yep.
So what is state? It's the. I should know the answer. It's so that's the name of the tiddler.
Steve.
Tiddler that's not visible, but it's still written. Wiki being a Quine and being a single page application has to keep everything about it sort of internal, so it's constantly reading and writing. So it writes the name of the current tiddler to the tiddler call, whatever Jillian was called. And so you've got two separate table of contents macros using the same state tiddler, then they're both going to update it. So it's not a bug, it's a feature. If you're writing a game, you might find that helpful. You might be able to use that to your advantage. Like, oh, that's cool. I can have two different parts of my wiki updating simultaneously because they're both reading the same statement. So that's how you would do it if you want to do it purposefully, but that's how you do it if you want to split them. Okay.
Should I change the other ones then, or it doesn't
Should
matter?
Jillian change the other one?
Yeah,
Why?
so in case you ever run it with create another one.
Another.
you don't have that,
Yeah. And you'd only notice that if you had both tiddlers open at the same time. Right? If you didn't have them open at the same time, who cares? So, okay, cool, thanks. I'm just gonna keep walking around the room. James, hopefully you're getting it. So Julian, you shut your microphone off.
Mhm.
unmute. Wait at the top. You're still on.
I got it.
James, you hearing me now?
Yep, now I can hear you.
All right. So we missed the whole thing with Jillian, but that's okay. So now we're looking at Steve's, and I'm just walking around the room.
It's a very, very basic Tiddler. I don't
Okay,
know.
let's look at the news because
okay.
yeah, scroll up and
I'll
let's
fix that.
look at that. So okay, did everybody kind of some people I noticed got that concept and some didn't. I guess me asking you did you get it is kind of a stupid question because you don't know if you got it or not.
Are you talking about the circling things?
Yeah,
with
the
different
circling
colors?
things, right? You're circling things that are alike. Okay, just to make sure. Yeah. So show us something that's cool.
There's not much cool except for the fact that for some reason after some people got hit by a truck, there were so many stories that were just the same story in that one.
Oh, we don't
That
care.
one
That's
little
like
thing, that was funny.
content specific. We don't
Yeah.
care about content in this exercise.
So I have little things here. This was back when I didn't know as much, so
Yeah.
it's a little bit more basic. But basically, I had a view full coverage button that would lead you to
Okay.
a little collapsed view of just the stories that related to what you were looking for. The collapse button, I wanted to try and get rid of this Tiddler at the same time, but it brings you to what you would see if you had collapsed the image in Google News.
Okay, yeah.
And then if you wanted to go back to it, I think that one brings you back. Yep. Because back then I also didn't know how to link to external. It's funny how basic this stuff is, like
Yeah.
just things that I could do to improve it already.
Right. Well, that's good because it shows. I mean, it's not bad to look back. It's like, oh, I know what that's going on. I mean, you're learning stuff like every 2 days, basically. You're getting more and more, so you're going pretty quickly.
Other than that, everything's pretty similar to everybody else's.
What did you do anything with tags in this at all, or no? There's no tags.
There were tags for Republican Party, United States Congress,
Okay.
Virginia.
So click on that Republican Party, and what that does is that takes you to the Tiddler called Republican Party, and then let's look at the code for that, and that lists.
It lists the
Okay, good. I'm
tags.
glad we opened this code up because Steve's doing something here which works, and I get that, but it might not work tomorrow. Okay, so he just runs a list and lets stuff happen. All those tiddlers are running into each other. That's like the default. How would he get each of those tiddlers to be links, but with line breaks between them? So close that tiddler. Let's see what that looks like. Do they put it on a separate line automatically? No, they're also, so you can't even tell where
There are
one's.
several lines.
Are there line breaks there?
Yeah, I
Okay.
made sure of that much.
Okay, how's that working? Let me see.
So what you do is you go to the end of your list and you hit enter, and because there's an enter there, it knows to put them on separate
Yeah,
lines.
I'm skeptical of that, to be honest. I know it works. I'm skeptical because you're not
Oh, yeah,
asking
no, it's
for
not,
that.
It's
So
not the best way. at
Yeah,
all.
so the way to do that is to open up a link command. So it's single angle bracket, $ link, close angle bracket, ask for the current tiddler in double angle brackets. So bracket, bracket, current tiddler, capital T, close, right? And then close the link with a /$ link. You want to do that before the break. And then put a BR. And then close the list. /$ list. Yeah. Okay. The reason you want to do that is that way you can run lists inside a list. So you can begin to stack things up. If you rely on the defaults, then you might it might not work so well. How'd you do that? How'd you put an extra break in it?
I just put an extra break in there.
Okay. Yeah. General rule in writing HTML code, if you're putting the same character in twice, you're probably doing something wrong. Not wrong, but you're not doing something as right as it possibly could be. Because if you decide that you wanted the break to be 1.5 spaces instead of 2 spaces or something like that, then you'd have to go back and change the code. So you try to abstract everything as much as you can. So you could, if you wanted spaces between them, you could wrap your links in P's. So go in front of your $ link command. And this is HTML, not TiddlyWiki. Open a P, so it's bracket P bracket. And then after your /link, the end of that line,
End it.
close the P. and then get rid of the 2 breaks. Okay, and save that. Oh, the first one, does that, yeah. And that way, someday you'll have CSS, cascading style sheets, that says what a P is supposed to do. And that way, if you want your P to be dependent on the size of the person's screen, so if they're looking at it on a billboard, you can put 15 px between them. If they're looking on a phone, you might put 2 px. So you can ask, oh, what kind of screen do they have, and then direct them to a style sheet. So you try to, you try to abstract as much as you possibly can. Double breaks, I mean, it works, and I get that, but so yeah, so that's like, notice what we're starting to do is mix a lot of HTML5 with TiddlyWiki stuff. Okay. If you ever want to know how to do something, you can go to another tab and search, or go to new tab while you're here.
I already have my searching tab.
Yeah, that's fine. And search for HTML5 paragraph break. Paragraph tag is fine, yeah. Yeah, and then go ahead. And there's lots of help on HTML5, like just tons of it.
Is all HTML5 accepted in TiddlyWiki?
Yes.
Okay.
Everything. And what's kind of cool is that you can mix and match. So if they've got P's, you can transclude stuff inside of HTML tags. So you can hit search for, like, I'm looking for another one. But when you get into CSS, you'll see a lot more of that. The parameters for CSS can be transcluded. Now that you know how to transclude, you can transclude text or parameters in CSS. So, Chris, are you ready? So we're going to stop your share and close your mic and open Chris's. Probably doesn't really matter.
I'll leave my mic
Yeah,
closer to it.
That's fine. We're close enough. So Chris runs these really dark and moody TiddlyWikis, which I can't even read. So what do you do when you come across a TiddlyWiki like this? We're just going to pick on Chris, that you can't read. That you just, if my personal preference is that I hate black background and red text because I can't read it, what do you do? So we're going to make him change his temporarily. So you go to Control Panel, Palette, and pick a pretty one. There you go. Now, and then he, like most of you who preserve your battery life all day, you keep your screen really low, which makes it really hard for me to see when I'm looking at his screen. So, okay, so show us what you did now that we can see it.
I'm gonna show like that.
You have to yell because there's no way that Andrew can hear you. Go ahead.
Mic's there then.
Huh? Yeah, but he's not listening on the mic. He's listening with his ears.
Oh.
Andrew's right up there.
I thought you were talking about.
James can hear us,
Okay.
but Andrew can't hear you. I know because I live in this room and I know how hard it is to get your voice to project from here to there. Go ahead.
Wow, that's nice.
So you do really cool stuff, but show us what you're doing here.
Where?
Hmm?
What?
What is it that you're doing?
It's just the directory of exercises.
Okay.
I put all the exercises in.
Yep. So you're being very meta here, Chris. His annotated article from Wikipedia was on TiddlyWiki. Is that right? Very meta. Okay. Are you ordering it? Did you order your table of contents here?
Not here.
Okay.
I did in this one that I'm working on. I was doing what the guy over there said, and like this is ordered not by just writing numbers in the fields.
Okay, show us one of those. Show us that tiddler where you put the field number in. Okay. So you put a field, and you put the same field number, and then you sort, and that goes into the top tiddler? Where does the sort command go?
Is this the same one? Wait, this is a different.
Show us the TOC tiddler? Yeah, that one.
Yeah, this is the other one, the way you call it, without writing the whole thing out. You can just put like the sort right here.
Okay, so yeah, so you're not using the macro call, you just stick it into the field. What are all those tiddlers below that?
Oh, these were all the transclusions that I just kept here for reference.
So that worries me. When I see a ton of tiddlers listed in think of that as hard-coded. So that worries me because you shouldn't ever be calling more than 2 tiddlers. You shouldn't ever be calling more than 1. So am I missing something?
This is from when I was just excising it all. And
Oh, okay.
like, I'm just gonna get rid of it. I'm just not done with it yet.
Okay, got it. Okay, so yeah, so that's, yeah, I'm sorry.
Like, they're just commented out. Is that a comment?
Let me see. I can't, my eyes suck. My
Double
ears are
angle
bad.
brackets.
No, that's not a comment. This is a comment.
Double forward. Oh, this is.
Oh, because it made it disappear.
Comment end with that. So go ahead and put that in, since if anybody's actually watching this video, which I think that people do, they wouldn't have seen what I wrote on the board. So go ahead, so it's you open it with a single bracket, exclamation point, hyphen, hyphen, and you close it with hyphen, hyphen, close angle bracket. Yeah. Okay. So Kopelak here, Chris, is using one wiki for his whole thing, which has some benefits and some costs. The benefits are that all of your code is always accessible. You can easily find it. The costs are that it's sometimes hard to keep track of what you've just done. But that's fine with me. What are you doing in your annotation?
That was the annotation. What do you mean here?
Oh, that's your, okay, so that's your source?
Yeah.
Did you add anything, or did you so far just break it into paragraphs?
I just broke into the paragraphs.
So you haven't added any annotations yet?
Not really.
Okay, cool. Thanks. I'm just going to keep moving around. We'll go to Meg here. I think he got booted.
Kind of doesn't update a bit.
And now it's downloading Zoom again?
Doesn't update. Alright.
Oh. You're back.
I want to share. Okay.
Yeah,
Perfect.
cool. Okay. Everybody likes this. Edit this, and you want to turn your speaker off, and change TC. What is it? TC vertical
Where?
in the macro call. What's the other kind of? How do you get them across the top? Anybody know? Anybody do that style? Okay, we'll do that next. But yeah, I can't remember what it's called. I think it's. I don't know if it's TOC horizontal.
I could try it.
Go to tiddlywiki.com and look for the top macros. Table of contents, actually, yes. And structure, do they even give you an option? Tag, sort. I think actually it defaults to not vertical. So maybe if you just take the TOC vertical out. So where, do you have a class in there or something? Where's it, is the word vertical in there anywhere?
I don't see it. No.
Okay, then it must be, I don't know, I'm thinking something else. So what did you, so you show us, I'm supposed to not talk. Show us what you did here.
So I did mine on the Wikipedia page of a wolf dog. So I linked this. It's supposed to open another one, so then you can go to the Wikipedia page.
Okay, so you're doing external linking.
Yep. So I went back to that. I have my description, so you can go to Koi Dogs, which that wasn't like that before. And then, so I'll just go right to how they're similar.
Uh-huh.
But I don't like that because I had it like this, and then you can click on it there.
Wait, what do you mean?
So under my description, so
Yeah.
I tagged these, or I forgot the word for it. I put the brackets around these, so you could go right to that.
Yeah. So go back to, let's look, so, okay, so here, let's edit that tiddler, the one that has that ugly link in it.
Okay, here's my description.
No, the other one, the one that has the Koi Dog link.
Yep, it's on this one.
Yeah. No, the one that says, I mean, I saw an http:// I think it's called edit the Koi Dogs tiddler.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. I believe that readers of interactive texts should never see http:// I just think that's bad because it's not useful to them. So how could we fix that?
There's a link right in the toolbar at the bottom.
And what's that do? Okay, I never used that. So
When I tried to, so how you showed us how you can go to the Wikipedia page and copy the last word on there. So like if I want to do Koi Dog,
yeah.
it didn't work for me.
Oh yeah, you know. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
Split your screen in half.
Oh, I don't
Oh,
think
you
can. I don't
or you don't do that. Or go to
No.
Design Right Studio.
Mm,
I know it. It didn't work for you because you need the macro. So search for
Okay.
Wikipedia and look for a tiddler called Wikipedia macro. Maybe Wikipedia macro. Yeah, drag that to yours. So you have to drag it from a place where there's a link to it. So yeah, there you can drag it. Drag that to yours. Drop it in and import it. And now let's visit that tiddler. And so the code, and copy the code in red. Yeah. And then in Koi Dogs, yeah. That's what you're after.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's just a question of you, yeah. So anytime you want to, like, I've got code all over the place in there that isn't standard. It's usually macros that I've written. And so you can search for them and find them. I try to keep them organized, and sometimes I do better than other times. Yeah. In general, I think you should save this without saving your changes. Oh, well, I guess you don't want to do that. That's all right.
Sorry.
That's okay. Do you at another place you had that similar issue?
Right here.
So go to that other tiddler that had the what I call an ugly link. Yeah. What's another way to do this? Yeah, Brandon, you know?
So, like, when you think of rate, that's rate line.
Yeah, so go, where's your tiddler with the wolf dog? Did you already fix it?
No, I just moved it. Sorry.
Where's the one that had an HTTP : / that
Yep.
had that whole?
It was right here.
So yeah, so if you enclose that in double square brackets, and then give it, okay, what's that? Is that in square brackets now?
Yeah.
Double squares?
Yep.
And click on it.
Right here.
Yeah. Go back. That shouldn't have worked that way. I believe you. Okay. So this takes two parameters, double square brackets. So after the first set of brackets, put a word, whatever, wolf dog is fine. And then the vertical bar. Horizontal's this way, vertical's this way, the vertical bar.
Okay.
You took one of the square brackets.
Yeah, you lost a bracket.
So I'm gonna put another one.
You need two squares, the word, a vertical bar, and a link, and close it with two squares. Yeah, two squares to begin.
Okay, 2 squares again.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was confused.
And then between them, just a vertical bar.
Okay. And then another square bracket. Okay.
Yeah, and then that's standard how to build a hyperlink, and you click on that, and that should, okay, the HTML equivalent to that is a:/href equals URL space target equals quote underscore blank, because it opens in a blank tab. And if you don't have that target, it will replace your wiki in that tab. So that's the default behavior. That's what that's doing. So yeah, either way, like Wikipedia works as a macro, but it's not going to work for other pages. Okay, if you go back and look at the Wikipedia macro to the tiddler you just brought in.
This one?
No, the macro tiddler. Let's look at and see what that looks like. Go to your recents and should be the maybe search for macro. You probably don't have any other things called macro. There it is, Wikipedia macro. And let's look at the code for that. If you wanted to build a series of links to something else, you could modify this macro. Okay. In order to get something to work as a macro, you have to tag it, $/tag/macros or macro. I can never remember which. And if you look at my code there, you should be able to figure out what it's doing. Okay. And you can modify it. So thanks, Meg. So Derek, I'm just continuing my travels. So shut your mic, he'll open his. He's got a nice big screen I can actually see. And stop sharing yours.
Oh. How do I?
Just in the nick of time. You have to join the audio? No, the green thing is lit. Yeah. Okay. So what are you doing? Tell us.
So I pulled up the
And try to show us something that maybe others haven't shown us before.
yeah. Sorry, I had this up already.
That's all right. Yeah.
But everyone's been showing the internal one, where it drops down like this.
Yep.
But I also did the one where it, when you click it, it pulls up the wiki itself.
The
So
Tiddler itself, right? So you
Yeah,
click
Tiddler.
that, and it takes you right to it. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not a nav. Which do you think is better? Do you like which of Derek's options do you like better? Table of contents 1 or 2? Kyle votes for 1. Why? And we can let Kyle talk because he's right next to the open mic. Why?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
My name's Brian.
Ryan, I've been calling you Kyle all day. What's going on with that? My
Hey,
name's
Kyle.
Ryan. Finally, I kind of thought that this thing isn't really Kyle, but I'm just going to keep calling him if he doesn't correct it.
Ryan. I think it's
It's only
much.
been like 4 years that I've known you.
I think it's much better just from the fact of it doesn't require you to jump to all these different spots. That's all built into that one. So like you're not constantly scrolling up or down or jumping to a new Tiddler.
Okay.
It's all like self-contained.
So, Derek, expose your sidebar and go to Tools and click and go to, it's called Story View. Bring out Story View and select Zoom In. Yeah, okay. And now go to Table of Contents 2 and close your sidebar. So now we've switched TiddlyWiki to zoom in mode, which is another way of, I don't really like the word, but it's one tiddler at a time. So click on one of those in Table of Contents 2, and it takes you right there. And now close that tiddler, and it'll take you back. So that I hadn't shown you zoom in before because I was waiting for the right moment. Ryan, not Kyle. I'm just going to call him not Kyle forever. But Ryan kind of said, oh, well, I like, so the zoom in feature it prevents that scrolling. Where would zoom in be helpful? What kind of devices?
Mobile.
Yeah, mobile small screen where the endless scrolling sucks. So yeah, zoom in is kind of cool. Go back to Control Panel. Oh wait, click a couple more of those zoom ins while you're there. And see that animation? Close it. Okay, now go to Control Panel. It's right in the middle there, yeah. And maybe Info. And animation duration is set at 400 milliseconds. It's about the fifth one down. Change it to 0. And now go back to your table of contents. And it just moves without an animation. So it doesn't show you that movement. So yeah, you can play with that. That's a nice feature. If you decide that your wiki for some project, future project, is best viewed in zoom in your journal, say, hey, I built this to be viewed in zoom in. I left it in zoom in, just look at it that way. The way that you leave your wiki, it saves all of those states and settings. So some of you might have noticed that you open your wiki and whatever you left open, whatever tiddlers were visible or what's showing now. Anybody notice that in their tiddly spots? Mm-hmm. Why is that? So look at Control Panel, and you should zoom in a bit, like 5 times. Apple Plus.
Me?
Yeah, because you're driving. Apple Plus.
Command, you mean?
Command Plus. Yeah, it's an Apple, believe it or not. There you go. One more. Maybe 2 more. There you go. There's something that we were going to do here. Oh, there it is. The default tiddlers. His default tiddler is set because the way that Tiddly Spot, the way that we're doing it, it sets a default tiddler to that, which is all of the things that are stored in the tiddler called $:/story list. Copy that tiddler name, just not the list, just the name of the tiddler, and put that in the search bar and click the little magnifying glass to the right. Oh, yeah, you missed half of the, that's fine. See, there's a tiddler called their $:/story list. Yeah, it's the bottom one. You had it. Yeah, go. Yeah, copy that. Search for it and click on advanced search. And on the very bottom, there's a tiddler called story list. So click that and look at it. Okay, and in the list field are all the tiddlers that are currently open or on the story list. So if you begin to mess with this, especially if you decide you want to build a game or something that's interactive in which people are working through, you might have to play with story list. None of the stuff I work on calls for that, but you guys are going to build things that are way bigger and better than what I built. So if you change your default tiddler to what you want it to be, and you get in the habit of like opening up your project tiddlers with the current story or your journal. So for example, Chris, when the current event might be exercise 4, or Chris maybe wants to open his tiddler to the list of all his projects, he changes his default tiddler. Okay. One of the early exercises I pointed this out, but I forgot to keep harping on it. And most of you just leave the default. So anyway, so that's why every time you open a tiddler, it writes it to the story list. And when you close your wiki, whatever tiddlers are visible are written in the story list. That's all the tiddlers that are being displayed at the moment. It's a little complicated when you've got zoom in running, because you think you don't realize that all those other tiddlers are in your story list as well. So those are like TiddlyWiki sort of idiosyncrasies. But if you think about the way that your apps work on the phone, like Facebook keeps all this stuff current. So in a very microcosm, we've got a system that's as complicated as Facebook, but all exists in a single page app. So thanks. So we got to look at zoom in. Ryan, you can share your screen, and we're going to keep Derek's mic open. Okay. 11:03. Okay. Yeah. So you games worst to best. Yep.
So if my games worst to best, it opens with. I've got there's a reflection. I've got games by feeling. Say include a feeling of how I felt about each of them.
Okay, so Ryan's got bunches of you did this. I made some changes to some of yours or suggestions in the critiques. Ryan's running what I think of as a 2-level list, right?
Yeah. So I took your suggestion with it. I changed it a little bit.
Good.
Just, I mean,
yeah,
very basic. The changes that I did, I just kind of reordered it a little bit, and then I used the headings to make it so the feelings were in the heading 1 and the other ones were heading 2.
Yep. Okay. Just look at the code for this. What we're doing here, Ryan's doing and zoom in about 5 times, or you can actually just close the preview window and zoom in a couple of times. Yeah, zoom in a couple of times.
I'm having so much trouble finding it.
Control plus. Keep going. There you go. Okay. So notice he's got 2 lists running. Okay, and this is what I wanted to point out with Steve's when he didn't close his list properly. This is why you need to close it properly. So he's got do you have a second closed list on the bottom there?
I don't.
Scroll down.
Oh, I do.
You do, okay. So he opens 2 lists, he closes 2 lists. Okay, he opens one, and after that first list command, insert a line after the first list command.
Oh, the first one, the ending it, or
No, the first open list. the first list command. Yeah, insert, hit return. And I don't know how you guys debug your code, but I'm going to show you using Ryan's thing how to debug it. But when I'm trying to figure out what's not working, like I'm going to say, okay, I want to know what's the current tiddler now. So put like 0 space, and then call for current tiddler in angle brackets, 2 angles. Capital T tiddler.
In it or it's outside of it?
No, current tiddler is the name of the variable. It's lowercase c, capital T. Yep. And then put a break after that, a BR, in single angles. And close it. Okay, now copy that line and put it after the second list. And change the 0 to a 1. Okay, and now open the preview again. And so what it's showing us is what the current tiddler on, what's going to be operating on. And so if you can't figure out why you're not getting the right fields, it's probably because your current tiddler it's not what you think it is. And once that works, then you can get rid of those lines or you can comment them out. Remember how to comment them out? So go to that 0 and open a single bracket, angle bracket, exclamation, dot, dash, dash. And then at the end of the line, at the end of that line, dash, dash, angle bracket. Yeah, not the open angle bracket though.
Oh. Wait, which one was?
That one, get rid of that. Okay.
Oh, was that?
There it is. So it's still in his code, but it's not being displayed on the right. Okay, so he's written a comment, and then he can uncomment that when he needs it. I usually just delete those because they get annoying. But if you look back at old versions of my code, sometimes I'll leave a lot of. I'm trying to leave more comments in the code that says what's happening. So, thanks. So Marcus, go ahead.
Oh, I should stop sharing.
Yeah, you got to stop sharing.
Should I mute my audio now?
Yeah, you can mute your audio. There it is. Okay. So this is your Wikipedia page. This is Marcus's Wikipedia page, and every paragraph is on tiddler.
Yes.
Okay. And look, what's that? Let's go back. I was looking.
Down.
Yeah. What are those gameplay setting? How do you do that?
I just went in and I manually did it with the HR.
And how do you get into HRs in there?
I don't know. I did it before I did the incision, so I guess it stayed there.
Okay, so let's look at the gameplay tiddler. And let's edit that. Okay, so you put those in manually.
Yes.
Okay, so you have to do that for every tiddler. Get rid of that. See where you've got that word gameplay? Just delete it. Keep right there. Now, how can we put the title of this tiddler into Marcus's code without actually typing the name of the tiddler? So Ben says you can just insert. What's the word that I want him to use instead of insert? Ingest. No, ingest is when we bring stuff in from outside, but transclude is when we move something from one place to another. So you can transclude the title of the tiddler by enclosing it in double curly braces and prefacing it with 2 exclamation points. So curly brace, bang, bang, or exclamation point, and then the name of the field is title, T-I-T-L-E, and close it with 2 exclamation points. I'm sorry, 2 curly braces. What am I saying? Okay, and it's going to say draft of gameplay. Why?
Because I haven't saved up.
Pardon?
Because I haven't saved up.
Well, if you think about it, every time you make a character, every time you type a character in I think you're writing right in the code, so it's being saved. It's calling it from memory. I'm kind of out of my league here in explaining how this works. But I believe it's in RAM. It's not to disk, it's in RAM. So it's calling it from RAM, it's calling it from memory. Every keystroke is immediately reflected in what you're doing. So Marcus says I haven't saved it yet. He's right, but technically the tiddler that he's working on is now called draft of gameplay. If he closes this wiki now, go ahead, you can click this red save button, but I'll close the tiddler. Click the red save button. Oh, I forget that, never mind. Oh, there, it's saved, okay. He can leave without saving the tiddler, and the tiddler called draft of gameplay is still there. Okay, so now if you save the tiddler, in effect what that does, go ahead, is it erases the draft of gameplay tiddler, deletes it, and replaces it. So yeah, that's another way to do transclusion. Why do you want the gameplay up there anyway?
I'm not
You
sure.
did that before you excised it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, which is what you said. Yeah. But good. So that can be I got us to look at that. Okay. So that I'm gonna share one with you. Go ahead and share your screen. We haven't seen any of your work for a bit. Thanks, Marcus. And open up your you're on join the audio.
What do you want to see? You want to see shapes, object?
Whatever you got. You're hearing us. James, you hearing us?
Yes.
So he'll tell us if he's not. Tell us if you're not hearing us, James. So go ahead. Oh, I think I remember this. What did he say?
Is he making fun of me?
I can hear. Good. Okay. Yeah. So show us what you did here.
I did the news.
Yeah. No, but explain what you did. You did the wiki language.
I copied a bunch of stuff over from Google News and made links
Okay. So
to other tiddlers.
You made, okay. So the key though is to be able to, at this point in the semester, you should be able to use words transclude, link, tag, template, and list. So you have to be able to explain what you did with those 5 words. Use one of them in a sentence.
I made links to the Google News.
Show us a link.
Okay, here's one.
And where does that take us?
That takes us to another
Okay.
tiddler.
And how'd you make that link?
By putting this link in here to the names of
Yeah,
other
so
tiddlers.
really what Mickey is doing here is he's underselling what he's done. Let's list all the steps that he's doing in those 3 codes. He's listing, that's one of my words. He's listing all the tiddlers that share a common tag. So before he could have listed, he had to have tagged. So first he tagged a bunch of tiddlers with a tag, a common tag. Then he listed them. Then he creates a link to the current tiddler. And inside his link, the text of his link, he's transcluding the name of his tiddler. So he's got it all. He
Just
did it all.
doesn't
He
know how to
fucking-
say he's got it all.
But in order to explain what you've done, in order to demonstrate that you get what you're doing, you got to use that language. So, and how are those news stories displayed? Did you build a template? No,
Can I search for it?
you didn't. I didn't. Yeah, you didn't.
I
Okay.
didn't.
Yeah. If he had a template, then he would have hit the
jackpot.
Jackpot. If news stories had a template. Okay. Well, thank you all for sharing that. That was, I think, instructive.
Right now.
Yeah, I know, but that's not enough for me. All right, fine. I'll just go over here. Okay. Since I made you all show me yours, I'm going to show you mine. So I've got this talk to do tomorrow, which you're all invited to. I think it's at 2. It's called Works in Progress, and the College of Arts and Science faculty members give these talks, I don't know, once a month or something like that. So you sign up for them. So I decided to do it. And is that yeah, James, I presume you're hearing me. So let me know if you're not. That's kind of silly, I suppose, but maybe somebody can text in either way. He's not. But, join audio. There we go. So James, now you should be able to hear me.
You're doing that.
Let me know. Yeah. What did he say? Laugh out loud. Yeah, James, you got it? Are you hearing me? Hello? Hello? Okay, good. Okay, so this works in progress. I go and talk about the stuff that I'm doing, okay? And probably you might have figured out this is kind of what I'm doing. But what I want to show you is less of the content than the structure. And for me, they're all the same. So for me, the structure is my content. Okay, so for me, the work is building the platform that I'm using is TiddlyWiki, but there's the type of work that I'm making are called hypertexts or interactive texts. And then there's some theory, social theory behind that as well. I want to show you two things here. And you've got a link to this now. Notice I'm using your naming structure, SUNY Poly-Steve, and it's called monadic thinking. There's this idea of monads, which you're welcome to read about if you'd like. There's two things. I have a bunch of tagged slides. They're numbered. And this is like really, really old style numbering. You used to number the lines of your code, like 100, 200, 300. So then when you went to insert something between 100 and 200, you had some spaces. If I just numbered them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I wanted to put something between 1 and 2, I wouldn't have any space between them unless it took decimals. So I just numbered them with tens, and you can see that after 50, I inserted some things. 55, then said, oh, that's not good enough. So I put 56, 57, 58. So it kind of worked for me that way. I've got two features here. One is a slideshow, and the other I open all my tag slides in order. And so I'll show you the slideshow. I think I showed you this before, and I stopped using it in this class because we didn't really need it. But what it does is it opens all the slides that are tagged with something, a common tag, works in progress, colors the slides, and then opens them in order so that they're in the story list. For some reason, it's dumping me down to the bottom, and I can't figure that out yet. And it also changes the theme of the TiddlyWiki, which is not something that you've seen much of. So I showed you the slide, the story view, but then there's this other thing called theme as well. And you have all been using the same theme. I introduced a new theme here called Punch that I found from somebody. And when you go to Punch, it dramatically changes the way that tiddlers are displayed, which is kind of helpful in some cases. So when I view a slideshow, it changes it to theme. It finds all my slides, puts them in order, sets the background color according to the slide number, and then opens them. And they're supposed to open so that it's supposed to leave me here on my first slide. And I don't know why it's not. I'll have to figure that out. It also adds these buttons to my template. It does lots of stuff, okay? Most of which you're not going to be too interested in, okay? But some of it you will be, perhaps. And so here's what I'm beginning to do with references and footnotes, okay? So I don't know about this little crosses. I needed some symbol. I don't know. When I click that, it exposes the name of the source. It's actually a link, so I can link to that source. And because it's in slideshow, it doesn't really tell us much about it. So I'm going to end the slideshow and show you this approach. So now I just open my tag slides in order. So they're all open, and I can scroll up to the top of them and they're using this theme that we're familiar with. And we wanted to get to that third slide or so here. Notice it's still open from the last time I opened it. And so this is now my reference. So right now I've got 6 or 7 references. So you guys could do the same thing. I asked you to look at 2 articles. So those would be articles. They're all tagged reference. And there's nothing about Google Scholar in any of this. So if you don't see it in my code, but you see it on a Tiddler, you should think to yourself, what? Where's this coming from? If it's not in the Tiddler, where's it coming from? How do you get stuff on a Tiddler that's not in the Tiddler code?
Template.
It's in a template. Thank you. How are you going to find the template? My practice is usually to use the tag name in the name of the template. So you might have guessed it's called reference template. And what reference template does, very similar to what I did with Wikipedia. This is a little funky code. This took me like quite a few years to figure out, but I think you'll be much faster than I am. This word title, this is the name of the variable that I set right here. So title is whatever I want it to be. In fact, I transclude the current title and then I push it in there. So this is a link to Google Scholar where the query is built on the title of the Tiddler. Okay, it's very similar to what we did with Wikipedia. And so all I do is I build a link and whatever other text is in there shows up. After I do that, then I see, are there any Tiddlers that are tagged to this? And I'll show you one which has a bunch of tags. I think we did Latour. Okay. So if we go to the Latour Scholar, this is the reference for this article. And then these are all the annotations that I made. And the way I got there is like from Latour whole smaller is I just clicked a new here. It's tagged to that. And this is another Tiddler. And this is the text of my annotation. And I'll save it. And then I can go back to the Tiddler called Latour whole smaller. And I create names. I usually put the author's name and a couple of words from the title that I might remember what that's about. And then I can remember, I don't put something, it's not like a fancy reference thing. I grab this from Google Scholar. That's the official citation. And then here's all of my annotations. And then this is using that appear macro that gives me the text of the annotation. Okay, so these are my longer annotations. These are more serious. But, and then what I'm doing in here is doing a little highlighting. So this is the actual text of the article. So I quoted the article, I just copied the text, and I highlighted. Yeah, you had a question, Michael.
So what new here is a tool, not a macro?
New here is a macro that comes by default in TiddlyWiki. Everything's a macro. The way you get new here, if it's not visible, is you go, thank you for asking, you go to the control panel, appearance, toolbars, and on the view toolbar, ask to see new here. You can click all of these things if you want to see what else they do. We haven't done much. I don't get the folds, to be honest. Close others is something that you might like to have. Like if you get lost and you have too many Tiddlers open, you just put a close button in them all. And you can completely customize the tools that you want listed there. The view toolbar is what controls individual Tiddlers when you're viewing them. The edit toolbar controls individual Tiddlers when you're editing them. So if you want to get rid of the save button for some reason, Why would you ever want to get rid of the save button?
Been like to that's been a deterrent while trying to get your Tiddler to save.
If you no, the save button on a Tiddler. Perhaps if you're distributing your wiki in say in view mode only, and you really don't want people to be able to write even on their copy of it because they'll get confused, and you just want to streamline it so there's no buttons, you get rid of all the buttons. It's a pain for you because when you want to edit Tiddler, you have to put the button back. Whatever you take off of here is always going to the editor toolbar. If you want to get rid of all those buttons that you never use on those editor toolbars, you can take them all off. And the page toolbar is the stuff that shows up here. So you can get rid of those there, or you can also go to tools. It does the same thing. So if I click it off here, it'll disappear there and disappear here, and I can click it on here. So, okay, that was a bit of a detour, but thanks for detouring me. I want to go back and show you that highlighting that I did here. Okay. We want this annotated introduction to article, and this is my own macro that I wrote. I don't know how you'd know. It's probably in the thing called macros. And it looks like it's the Y text. Okay, so this is in DesignWrite called highlight macro, and I'm just going to go, it's Y parentheses text. So it basically highlights, it sets the class to yellow highlight, which means you have to bring over the CSS code as well. Okay. If you're interested in doing this, that's what I want you to use the group for. So if you see something, say, how did you get that yellow background? I'll be glad to respond, but I'm not going to throw it into the class unless somebody says I want to do that. Okay. So I kind of want more action on the group so that other people can see it. So there's like 3 steps. Looks like I've got an O text, orange text as well. So those are pretty cool. But this is like this might be a useful technique for you to use to begin to highlight your articles and understand things. So what you're doing between now and spring break is writing some sort of academic, like a paper, but obviously it's not printed on 8.5 by 11 physical paper, but you're writing some kind of thought piece about hypertext using sources. I've given you the linking, I've given you the 3T2L model. Thank you, Steve, for that, by the way. 3T2L, it's better, faster than all those linking, I can't even remember them now, right? Those are perfectly good frameworks to work with, so you might see somebody talking about linking even if they don't use that word. You might see them talking about putting stuff in a structure even if they don't use the word template. So if you can associate their words with mine, that would be cool, and that gives you a framework. So you're going to write something about hypertext or annotation. And you might use this kind of a technique. You might copy my technique or invent your own. Okay, I don't claim to have any special monopoly on how best to do annotations. We don't really know. And if any of you have tried to use Kindle, anybody ever read books on Kindle? They tried to annotate or save notes. We did that in a class, right? Yeah. It was like it sucked, right? Yeah. It just
not very user friendly or.
Right. So I mean, people. This is like a live problem in the digital world right now. We don't really know how to do annotation. It's getting much better. See if we can find a So here's the Washington Post's version of it. So you can click on this, and it should show you the, see an annotation, click on the yellow highlighted text. Okay. So they use this feature called, a service called Genius, and they do the same thing. You can do this too. Okay, they annotate, so you can see that something like the Washington Post, the New York Times isn't big on annotation yet, but you can see that places are doing this kind of thing. College textbook publishers, you should be able to annotate your textbooks, and you should be able to share your annotations with others. So it's a thing. It's a way of interacting with text. So I'm going to ask you to think about that using and your raw texts or articles that you find about hypertext. I'm going to send you over the next couple of days a couple of different articles. You can use we've had very little reading assigned so far in this class, but you can use those 4 that we talked about. You can annotate a video. How would you annotate a video? Remember we watched that? How would you annotate a video? Yeah.
Well, I know YouTube does it by basically putting it into the program that when the video hits a certain timestamp, it will bring up a little box that will say something.
So in YouTube, like this is the version that this is the story that we watched. You can ask for a share with a start and copy. So this link with the timestamp, which is so dynamic it won't copy and stop. Ugh. Okay, that link is kind of like an annotation. So instead of saying watch this video at this point. Okay, I think that you can do this. I think something like that with a stop and a start. So it will play 5 seconds of video. And then if you have some text like this 10 seconds or this 20 seconds of video is talking about this concept, now you're breaking it. And so what annotation does is take a whole text, focus your attention on a small part of it, and add your thoughts about it. So you can do that with audio, you can do that with video, you can do that with text. Text is easy. You know, words, they're easy, cut and paste kind of thing. But audio and video is a little harder. But this technique of slicing and dicing content and adding your thoughts at various points of it is the one that that's the kind of interactivity that we're working on now in the exercises that begin with 4. Okay, I kind of skipped the last 2, 3s when we were going to import tables because I thought I'd lose half the class. So we'll go back to that in a couple weeks if people are still with us. Okay, yeah, I just wanted to sort of show you that and get you thinking about it. The exercise, we'll stick with 4.1. I won't add 4.2 to the mix now. So just see what you can build using all of the skills and techniques that you've learned so far. See what you can build that allows you to reflect what you know about hypertext. Okay. It can be primarily for you, but of course you have to share it with me and everybody else. Okay, but it's a tool for you to understand. Okay, based on your annotations, your notes, your comments, your thoughts, you might then write like a essay about hypertext or hypertextuality or about annotation that references these other pieces that you talked about. Okay, and you kind of know how to do that, but you don't know how to do it in an interactive way. And I'm going to show you some of those things as you get a little further. We'll look at some of them next week. And I've been resisting because I really do want to show you this stuff, but I'm going to show you some of these examples next week. I realize that I keep giving you these codes and everybody follows them. So everybody's Google News looks exactly the same. Everybody's Wikipedia looks great. But I want to move past that. So now you're thinking hypertextually. You're designing your own stuff instead of just following directions. Okay, I think I've had enough. You've had enough following directions, but now you kind of have to think on your own and design on your own, and that's really where you want to get to. So I think you've all made incredible progress, and I think it's like, what, this is the 4th week? So the end of the 4th week or 3rd week? How many weeks have we been in this? 3 or 4, right? 4. This is the end of the 4th week of classes. Okay, that's not bad. But if you think about it, you have a toolkit now at your disposal that you can make some pretty sophisticated texts without a whole lot of code. Okay, those of you who write games, those of you who have programmed or written websites, used Dreamweaver or something, or written in HTML5, tried to write CSS, you know, there's generally more involved than what you've done so far, and you can get pretty far. So I'm looking forward to seeing your creative sides emerge, and your, you know, and I liked a lot what we did with Derek and Ryan's thing with the zoom in, and I like Derek's notion of here's 2 versions of this, right? So here's 2 different approaches to the same content in the same wiki. That's cool. That's the stuff that I'm looking forward to seeing from you. So, okay. Great. I'll see you next week. Continue working on that 4.1. I'll look for the stuff, and I will catch up with you then. James, thank you very much. See you again.
Not a problem.